Welcome back to Fight News Now. It's John Pollock here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, looking ahead to Saturday's card in Houston, Texas at the Toyota Center. It's headlined by Dennis Bermudez and the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. And this is a segment where we look at the rest of the card. And guys, going up and down this card, let's be honest, this is not exactly the deepest UFC card. You really have to do some searching here. And maybe this is one of those shows where these guys are going to come and put on a great show, but in terms of interest going in, this is not a super deep card.
100% I agree, especially when you have, no offense, but when you have OSP on a card, I'm not super jazzed about the card. However, I've seen a couple interviews with this guy, and he's taking things very, very seriously. He had his opportunity with John Jones. He fought John Jones, went 25 minutes with a guy that many people consider to be the greatest fighter to ever compete in mixed martial arts. Jimmy Manuwa can knock your lights out with one punch. He says one of the things he's been working on is his mental game. He says after his workouts, his coach tells him that he has to write down things. So what worked well in training? How would you rate it on a between 1 and 10 or 1 to 5? And basically he says that's been such a stressful thing for me to constantly be thinking about my training. He said sometimes it becomes more taxing than the physical work, and that's what you need to do, it seems, in this day and age, if you want to achieve success, is to really think about your career. And it seems like he's doing that.
Yeah, it really does. And you look at that highlight reel, man, and that's a while ago he stepped back and took out Shogun and took out Pat Cummins like that. And it's athleticism and mobility, and that's what he's going to use with some new skills and playing some new games. You never want to underestimate anybody, but when you go from John Jones to Oezdemir, a guy like this can go in and take a few risks, maybe try out some new things that'll help his growth in the long run. You look at his submission game, when you can almost tear limbs off guys or use your shoulder to complete a choke when they trap their own arm. This is a skilled guy. He moves very well. He's really tough on top. And he's Ramdeen's favorite fighter. When you got a guy like that, and a fight like this, you might see him out there in the open field taking some risks.
Yeah, and we always talk about the light heavyweight division. It's there for the taking for a guy that can get on a great run, which you look at somebody like Misha Cirkunov, who at this point looks to be at the end of his UFC contract, and whatever his next step is, it's unknown at this point. He's a very valuable property to that division, and I would say Ovince St. Preux still has enough time in his career that he could still be a force at 205 pounds. This is not a division where a few key losses and you're forgotten about. This is one where you can rebound after some tough losses.
100%. And right now, when you look at the light heavyweight division, right, I think we all believe it's Daniel Cormier and Anthony Rumble Johnson. These guys are going to fight in Buffalo. The winner will end up fighting John Jones. John Jones set to make his return in July. Open season. And then it's open season. So if you're a guy like OSP, you have to understand that's the way things are unfolding at the top of the division. Yeah, if the UFC calls and says somebody's injured, we need you to fight for a championship, be ready, because that's the way things are.
If there were an injury to Daniel Cormier or Anthony Johnson tomorrow, these are the light heavyweights you're looking at.
That's what it comes down to, and I think everybody knows that. We had Misha Cirkunov in studio, and he recognizes, because of how, I don't want to say thin, because the UFC's light heavyweight division, if you look down, there's skilled guys, there's quality guys.
We're starting to see some people
the future
are taking notice.
And he understands that, you win 4 fights in the UFC, somebody gets injured, you're getting that call. It's an unideal situation. You want to be in the organization for quite some time, get your skills where they need to be to go and face John Jones or Anthony Johnson or Daniel Cormier. That's not always a luxury that you have. You have to take the fights when they're given to you, and everybody understands that. And that's why right now the guys underneath the top 5 at light heavyweight, they just got to do what they have to do to make.
I just realized that if it were Daniel Cormier that got hurt, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Your favorite promotional tool will be utilized for that fight.
Oh my gosh, that's what'll happen.
Could be. Speaking of interim titles, there's a lightweight fight on this card too. Very interesting. Vick and Trujillo. And Trujillo is a slugger. He's an interesting guy to watch. He's hyper aggressive and very skillful, but he's got a slugger mentality. Always trying to put heat on you. Got a real swagger, real attitude with the way he fights. And this fight, I think, lines up pretty interesting. There you see his aggression can be used against him, but you see the way it's all about generating power in balance. Somebody who did train with Anthony Johnson, the same concept, always being in balance to generate power, and he's got a game like that working that guillotine as well.
One of the things Trujillo has said, though, because of what's going on with the Black Stallions, everybody's kind of going on their own. He said, because I have so many coaches, they're not in communication with each other, so I I have to be the general. They're telling me to come in on this day, and it's like, well, I need to rest and recover. How important is it that these athletes make sure they're all their coaches and trainers are in communication?
Yeah, super, super tough, man. To be able to periodize properly, make your weight properly, and come in at your best, because he hasn't always, that's a beautiful, beautiful shot right there. And he has had brilliant moments, but he has to be at his highest level as an athlete. And when you have too many cooks, it's tough. And Vick, on the other hand, is going to come in here hyper prepared, super smooth. He understands this is an important fight on the way up. Long and lean, always having fun in there. A challenging guy from a submission perspective. Awesome power guillotine there. That will shut off both sides of that carotid artery. This is a fun matchup at 155 pounds. And an important one for these guys. These are turning point fights in your career, and I expect this one to be a real good one.
Yeah, I think James Vick is a lightweight that not a whole lot of focus gets put upon. This is a guy who won 5 straight, which in the UFC's lightweight division, that's quite the feat in this day and age. So that's a fight that many people are sleeping on that could be very entertaining coming up on Saturday night. This coming weekend, you can follow along at FightNetwork.com. We will be going through all of the fights that happen in Houston. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Instagram. Just don't look for John Randine on any of them.